This is WFYI News Now. It's November 4th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, the state hopes a new attendance dashboard helps decrease chronic absenteeism. How sustainable aviation fuels could create a new market for Indiana farmers. And Indiana will stop collecting firefighting foam that contains harmful PFAS chemicals.
We want to make sure that we're doing the best we can as a state to make sure that this stuff is not available to our firefighters and potentially our groundwater sources.
Those stories coming up. But first, Indiana is one of only 7 states that allows people to vote for all members of a political party with just one mark on their ballot. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Brandon Smith reports on straight ticket voting.
Near the top of the ballot, before voters see individual candidates, they're given a choice. Select one political party and automatically vote for almost all the candidates on the rest of the ballot aligned with that party. That almost is important because there are some races on the ballot that straight ticket voting doesn't apply to. If a race allows voters to select multiple candidates, such as at-large seats on local boards and councils, the straight ticket vote won't work. People will have to choose candidates in those races. Straight ticket voting also doesn't apply to nonpartisan candidates and ballot referendums. This year, that includes school board races, judicial retention questions, and approval of a constitutional amendment. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Brandon Smith at the State House.
The Indiana Department of Education released a new statewide attendance dashboard to the public on Friday. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Kirsten Adair reports the IDOE says it hopes making this information widely available raises awareness about the importance of school attendance and helps decrease chronic absenteeism.
The dashboard displays attendance data at the school, grade, and district levels. It also shows data for specific student populations and excused versus unexcused absences. State officials say having access to the data will help communities understand school attendance across the state, set goals for improved attendance, and evaluate the impact of attendance policies. Katie Jenner is the Indiana Secretary of Education.
We need everyone working together to make sure students are in school and we continue to improve those numbers.
The percentage of chronically absent students in Indiana decreased slightly since last year to 17.8%, but Jenner says the state still has a long way to go. The IDOE says students do best when they have at least a 94% attendance rate. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Kirsten Adair.
Sustainable aviation fuels could create a new market for Indiana farmers. Indiana farmers have seen record-high corn yields for the past 2 years, sometimes more than what they can sell for ethanol and cattle feed. That can drive down the price of corn. Indiana University, Indianapolis professor Jerome DeMortier researches the effects of climate change and economic factors on agriculture.
Sustainable aviation fuels are one possibility to actually offset that decline in corn demand, but there are 2 problems. We don't really know when this is coming, and also corn is not necessarily the only feedstock that you can use.
Right now, making corn into sustainable aviation fuel is expensive and can even pollute more than gasoline because it requires more land to be converted for that purpose. But experts say the corn stalks, leaves, and husks are a more efficient biofuel and would still allow farmers to sell their corn in other markets. And for our final story today, Indiana will stop collecting firefighting foam that contains harmful PFAS chemicals by December 30th. Since the program to dispose of the foam started last year, the state has collected nearly 41,000 gallons of it. But as Indiana Public Broadcasting's Rebecca Thiel reports, funding for the program is running out.
Among other things, exposure to PFAS has been linked to cancer, the leading cause of death among firefighters. Firefighting foam with PFAS has also contaminated drinking water around military bases like Grissom Air Reserve near Kokomo. David Hosick is with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security, one of the agencies that oversees the program. He says it's not clear which Indiana fire departments are still using foam with PFAS.
We want to make sure that we're doing the best we can as a state to make sure that this stuff is not available to our firefighters and potentially our groundwater sources. So if there's a possibility to continue the program in some form or fashion moving forward, I think we'd all be interested in pursuing that.
For now, there's just not enough money to go around. DHS encourages fire departments to sign up for the program by December 1st. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Rebecca Thiel.
And that's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Daudelin, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.